What's going on, Geminites and Geminettes? It's your boy GemMint. Last week we took a look at every Daredevil Omnibus release so far, so you know we had to double back and do the Punisher series before Daredevil Born Again. Now, by the time you guys see this, there may only be hours left for our Daredevil by Bendis Volume 2 Omnibus giveaway over on ENCORE. If you haven't heard of ENCORE, it is a new online selling platform. It's similar to eBay. You put up a listing, it could be an auction for 7 days, you could do it as a buy it now with the best offer. The difference is, instead of posting pics, you post videos. This gives sellers more time and a better format to explain what it is they're selling. They can give some history on the comic book, they can talk about any potential defects, maybe where they got it, how long they've had it, whatever they want to talk about, and you could bid on it or make an offer. ENCORE has buyer protection, and every seller on there is vetted and required to upload photo ID. If you download ENCORE using my link in the description or in the pinned comment, make sure to give me a follow. You can enter this giveaway 100% free. Like I said, only a few hours left. With that out the way, let's jump into the first book in the series. This is where it all starts with Punisher Back to the War. Yeah, this is a must-own for any Punisher fan. The cover of this dust jacket's his first solo miniseries, which is Punisher Volume 1. Not only does it collect that, but it collects Punisher's first appearance and all his early appearances in Amazing Spider-Man, the Marvel Preview Presents, and then, like I said, that first solo 5-issue miniseries, which was supposed to be a 4-issue miniseries. But altogether, it has ASM 129, 134 and 135, 161 and 162, 174 and 175, 201 and 202, plus Annual 15, Giant Size Spider-Man 4, Marvel Preview 2, Marvel Super Action 1, Captain America 241, Daredevil 182 through 184, Spectacular Spider-Man 181 through 183, and then, of course, like I said, Punisher 1 through 5. Here we have the inside of the dust jacket, giving us our history on the early appearances of the Punisher. Of course, you got Jerry Conway, Ross Andrew, Frank Miller, Steve Grant, and Mike Zeck. Not much going on this omnibus. They typically do that with the older material where it's just kind of plain, but you have that big Punisher skull logo on the back. So opening up, still has that kind of older classic Marvel look that Marvel used to do for the Omnis. Dope image of Punisher from the early days. Love those images from that first mini-series. If you like something, you got to go back to the beginning from where it started, when Punisher was hired to take down Spider-Man by none other than the Jackal, who actually shares his first appearance here. Oh, look at this. I got a bookmark in here. I was reading this on a plane going to Comic-Con one day. So it's, a compilation book because it's a character-centric book, but I think it's great that you get all those early Spider-Man appearances with the tarantula, and then you get his first solo stuff, the magazine, black and white stuff for those 2 issues. Frank Castle family was brutally murdered. They got caught in a crossfire while at the park, and he loses his wife and children, then becomes the vigilante known as the Punisher, where he's a little unconventional in his methods. He doesn't just take the villains down and send them to jail like most heroes. When he puts them down, they stay down. He goes to Captain America appearance. Love that old school costume too. ASM 201. So he would come back for a couple of brief stints in those early days. Classic Frank Miller Daredevil with 184. So that story is included here. I think the coolest thing about this omnibus, besides having ASM 129, is collecting the miniseries. And I always thought it was funny. Oh, 2 and a 5 issue. Didn't it say 4 issue on the first one? Didn't they do this with another miniseries back in the day? It was going to be a 4 issue, then it ends up being a 5. So the only thing is, it stops where his first ongoing series would start. Oh, check out these. I love these paintings too, man. Jusko did a lot of great Punisher paintings too. But yeah, we don't have an omnibus collecting his ongoing series, which is Punisher Volume 2. That's what we really need to get next. All right, so we start at the beginning and then we jump to almost modern times. Not really, but we have the Punisher Marvel Knights Omnibus by Garth Ennis. Sometimes there's confusion on which run is which when it comes to Garth Ennis. This was the first one under the Marvel Knights imprint, which was founded by Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti. All right, so the Punisher under the Marvel Knights emblem with Garth Ennis, and he's also joined by Steve Dillon. So you have the same creative team from Preacher, which I was a big fan of. Steve Dillon art here on the side. Here's the back. You get all the Virgin covers of what it collects. So this comes out in the year 2000. There's a 12-issue series. Then you get Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe, Marvel Knights Double Shot 1, and then Punisher 1 through 7, and then 13 through 37 from the next volume that began in 2001. And all the Marvel Omnis are the same. So you get the biography on Punisher, where we're at during this era, Garth Ennis bio with Steve Dillon, Jimmy Palmiotti, and Tim Bradstreet. Old school Omni on this one, the black with the red foil. Digging that. Kind of beat up, a lot of wear and tear on this one. I remember reading this one years ago, man. The review is still up on the channel. I'm a big fan of Garth Ennis. He's probably in my top 5 writers, whether it's Preacher or The Boys, the stuff he did with the Punisher. He just has a way of writing that just feels like you're watching a movie. Like, it's very fluid. It feels natural. It's witty and raunchy and funny, and it's extremely violent. And that's what was great about doing this under the Marvel Knights imprint and the Max imprint, which we'll talk about when we get there. But you can just basically do whatever you want with the Punisher, no holds bar. So it starts off with the Welcome Back Frank storyline. You have Punisher going through New York City, going after Ma Ganucci's criminal organization. So he's going up against the entire mob. I think he kills the entire mafia in this one. You have an Army of One storylines teaming up with Spider-Man to go after the Russian. You have The Hidden, which is a story that involves the New York homeless situation. We saw Daredevil make a cameo here. Wolverine makes a cameo. This is Ma Ganucci, I believe. So your typical Punisher in the streets of New York fighting the mob, the ones that are responsible for the death of his family. Here goes that Steve Dillon art. Very distinctive style. You could tell it's him right away when you're flipping through the pages. So if you were a fan of Preacher or The Boys, definitely worth checking out their take on the Punisher. The Wolverine story where Wolverine's face gets blown apart. He's just got that adamantium skull face. It's been a while since I read this. You could, I guess, check the old video review that I have up on the channel, but for me, those videos are kind of hard to get through. There goes Punisher with Elektra there. A lot of great stories here. Definitely worth the read. Kind of funny, but also very violent. Check it out, it's from the inside of the mouth. Punisher visits you at the dentist. That's not a good look. You know Garth Ennis had to double back and join the Max series. This was a similar kind of more adult-themed, R-rated take on Marvel characters, Punisher being one of the best characters to use for the series, which is why there's another Max Omnibus coming up. This one covered 2 volumes by Garth Ennis. Let's jump into them. Yeah, so from Marvel Knights to Marvel Max, 2 volumes by Garth Ennis. The way you can kind of tell is that the Punisher volumes that have 2 volumes is Max, and it'll say Max up on the top here, and then the Marvel Knights is just that one self-contained omnibus. So you get Born 1 through 4, then the Punisher 1 through 30. Volume 2 continues that with 31 through 60. It has Punisher Presents Barracuda. Barracuda Max is a 5-issue miniseries. Barracuda was a crazy character, like a street dude, very raunchy, very graphic, very violent. Punisher the Tiger, Punisher the Cell, and Punisher the End. So if I recall, the volume 1 that I own is a newer printing than my volume 2. So it has graphics on the front and back, but this one just kind of has more of a plain aesthetic, still has that Punisher logo. Let's take a look at volume 1 real quick. I do actually dig that artwork on the side there. All right, Punisher logo, Born 1 through 4. Oh yeah, you know what? Let's take a look real quick at the inside of the dust jacket, because you have Derek Robinson adding to art here, Luis La Rosa, Leonardo Fernandez, and Doug Braithwaite. So again, telling you where we're at with this run. All right, so back to the war over here. So Born, the covers for Born were great, man. So yeah, this was like a flashback to Frank in the war in Vietnam. You kind of see what makes him tick, the things that he's gone through. This is another one that I read and reviewed these volumes on the channel. I like how the covers like progressively turn back into the soldier's face. So you get the Born miniseries, you get some background on the character. Next story is In the Beginning. So this is like after 9/11. You got Punisher, he's fighting his war on crime as normal. It starts off and there's this mobster's birthday that Punisher crashes and totally decimates the entire family. Then he's gonna go to the funeral to shoot that bitch up, not to quote Bone Thugs and Harmony. The artwork is good too. It's a different change of pace from the Steve Dillon stuff, so it's nice to kind of get a different artist on the book. I love how all the pages are black too. It really looks good on the omnibus, because even from the sides, it looks like all black. Frank ends up in Hell's Kitchen fighting the Irish mob, so he's in Daredevil territory. Here goes Kitchen Irish, that's part 4. He gets recruited by Nick Fury. Nick Fury has a job for him, and if I recall, it's kind of like he's not sure if he could trust Nick Fury or not. Then you have the story Up is Down, Black is White. That's the return of Nicky Calvella, so another mobster that's after Frank. He wants revenge. And then you have the Mother Russia story here as well. And it ends with the Slavers. So pretty heavy material that deals with human trafficking. So pretty cool stuff in Volume 1. You get the virgin covers. Let's see what Volume 2's got for us. Yeah, so it's basically Garth Ennis Punisher without Steve Dillon. You have Goran Parlov here, Leonardo Fernandez, Lan Medina, Howard Chaykin, Richard Corbin, Luis La Rosa, and John Severin. So a slew of different creators contributing to this book. Again with the black pages. I like how they did that on both. Here's all the stories. We have Barracuda, which is the story before his own miniseries. Man of Stone, Widowmaker. This is the Barracuda 5-issue miniseries. Let's see if we get Barracuda right away. Yeah, here's the shark opening up. Punisher 31. Bloody mess. Barracuda, he's got like gold teeth. He's like a big Debo type character. Barracuda's from Miami too, so he's a Florida boy. So Punisher goes to Miami. He's looking to take down this crew, but instead he runs into Barracuda. Here he goes. Barracuda is a ruthless SOB, man. He is not one that you want to mess with. On the Man of Stone storyline, takes place in Afghanistan. Then you have the Widowmaker dealing with the 5 mafia widows. Their husbands, of course, taken down by Frank himself. So that's Widowmaker. Long Cold Dark, that's the Barracuda storyline that comes back around. Let's see if we can get over to that. Here's Widowmaker. Frank dealing with the widows. Widowmaker is a crazy name. It's also the name of a heart attack. Got to be careful, y'all. Yeah, so in Long Cold Dark, you have Barracuda comes back to challenge the Punisher. So that's an insane battle. And then you have the Valley Forge. So this is another one that kind of deals with the Punisher's past, Vietnam. And it's kind of fitting how it ties in with the Bourne miniseries that starts with the Vietnam stuff and then it ends with the Vietnam stuff. Going up against an enemy that he can't necessarily kill. Great stuff, though. I would definitely be down for a reread of this, but if you guys want, you could check out my older reviews of it. And like I alluded to before, there is another Punisher Max series. This time, it's penned by Jason Aaron. I actually thought that I wasn't going to like this. You don't hear too much about it. Every time you hear Punisher Max, you hear Garth Ennis, but this was a really good omnibus. Let's revisit it now. All right, so back to the Max, back with Steve Dillon, but this time with Jason Aaron. And I got to tell you, I feel like this is an underrated book. You never hear people talk about this omnibus. Like I said, it's always about Garth Ennis, but this is a 22-issue series. This omnibus collects the whole thing, plus the Max Christmas special. In addition to Steve Dillon, you also have Matt Hollingsworth, Dave Johnson, and Roland Boshi contributing to the art. Here's a little biography with some quotes. I always thought it would be cool to have a Gem Mint quote in an upcoming omnibus. I probably got to read more single issues and hopefully something's picked up for the omnibus. What I remember about this is that Jason Aaron, he's a great writer too. Different style than Garth Ennis, I would say. But he did a great job of like making you feel. Like I remember reading this and feeling like a lot of guilt for like a father losing his children. And they really drove that home. Kingpin stuff here. Wilson Fisk, man. Punisher was really not ready for him. He is a ruthless bastard throughout this volume. The stuff that he's gone through at his younger age, and he's willing to kill people. If I recall, doesn't he kill his own son or something like that? I'd have to rewatch my review. I don't really remember. But the Kingpin stuff, as you can see, was brutal, man. A lot of violence in this stuff. Jason Aaron, he's still a good writer to where you feel like you're reading real conversations. It doesn't just feel like walls of text or exposition. Jason Aaron does a great job of making the dialogue feel like a real conversation you would hear. Yeah, I remember this, man. Punisher talking to this guy, gets shot right in the eye, right in front of him. Got the bullseye cameos here. If you guys really want to know more about this story, check out my review on it. It's still up on the channel. I think it's the most recent Punisher review that I've done. Man, flashing back to him and his wife. There was a lot of heavy stuff in here with their marriage. Stuff that happened before she was killed. It was deep, though, man. Really good stuff. Jason Aaron's Punisher Max. And unfortunately, we are at the very last omnibus, the Punisher Omnibus by Rick Remender. I actually started reading this one, and it's just unfortunate that we don't have more Omnis for Punisher. We'll talk about that a little bit later. For now, let's jump into this one. Yeah, and the last one, so technically it says this is stuff that was from the 2009 volume, Rick Remender's Punisher, but it looks like the Jason Aaron Max issues were January of 2009, and I think issue 1 came out in January of 2010, technically. 16 issues plus the first annual, but then it has Dark Reign the list, and then Franken Castle 17 through 21, which is kind of goofy. Dark Wolverine 88 and 89, remember the Dakin stuff, and then Punisher in the Blood 1 through 5 with all the Virgin covers, and you get the homage to ASM 129, how fitting. And by now you know the deal. Where are we at? During this Norman Osborn Dark Reign run, Rick Remender is joined by Jerome Opeña, Tan Ang Huat, John Romita Jr., Jason Pearson, Tony Moore, Roland Boshi, Jeff Tay Palo, and Dan Barrington. Old school omnibus, so you got that kind of black leather, but it's got the white embedded kind of text there. Pretty cool look. This is weird, like mine's peeling away. I actually bought this from Tate's Comics in Lauderhill when it was out of print. I think this has been out of print forever. Let me know. Have they announced a reprint on this? Maybe they have. And I bought it for cover price, which is something that you're always down to do if it's an out of print book. So this run, you kind of get just thrown right into it. Yeah, Punisher versus the Sentry. How fitting is that right now, too? I'm actually reading the Sentry series right now in trade paperback by, it was Jay Lee and Paul Jenkins, who's a super cool guy. So yeah, you're thrown into this world where Punisher's enemies have all been resurrected and they're all coming for him at once. I read the first arc. As you can see, I got my patented GemMint bookmark going on here. And I stopped it at Punisher 8 once that first arc was over. I didn't really love the first arc. This is not a book that I hear very many good things about, to be honest. It's probably my least favorite Punisher omnibus out of all of them so far. But if you like the Dark Reign era, the Norman Osborn era, this is the Punisher stuff that's taking place during that time. If you guys are into that. The Franken Punisher stuff seems a little bit zany and wacky. That story is basically Punisher dies and he is stitched back together and he continues his mission even though he's dead. So as you can see, Franken Punisher. I haven't read all this material. I've only read up to what you see with the bookmark so far. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, man. Is there a reason why this hasn't been reprinted? Is it kind of universally not really regarded? Is Franken Castle any good? Here goes Dark Wolverine when Dakin's wearing the costume and the cowl. But yeah, this is the most recent Punisher material to be formatted for Omnibus, so I don't know if they're planning to do any more runs. Again, I would really love that volume 2, that first ongoing series, for them to start doing those numbered volumes. All right, everybody, thank you for checking out the updated Every Punisher Omnibus release so far. Friendly reminder, we have the giveaway going on over at ENCORE for this sealed copy of Daredevil Volume 2 by Brian Michael Bendis. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know which Punisher Omnibus is your favorite and which run hasn't been collected that deserves the treatment. I'm going for that first ongoing series, Volume 2. Appreciate y'all watching. Stay minty fresh. Peace.